Hey, folks. Welcome to another segment of American Classic Comics and our videos. We have with us today part two of our conversation, show and tell of sorts, with Andy Purvis, a longtime friend of mine. I've known Andy for 30 years at least, maybe more. And you can catch him at 12:30 on radio and ESPN. Varying on during the week is usually about Tuesday through Thursday, depending on games and whatnot. They'll kind of move around, but he's written a number of books, and we'll have him shortly. And also, we'll have a little Q&A session with a very good friend of mine, Jack Stubblefield. So tune in, and I hope you enjoy. Welcome, folks, to another segment of American Classic Comics presents Turn the Page. Part two of our just fantastic interview with Andy. A lot of you guys have been asking, hey, when are you going to get Andy again? When are we going to get Andy again? Where are we going to see more stuff? He's here with us today, Andy Purvis. I hope that you've had a blessed Christmas. This is airing just a few days after Christmas. So tell us about your holiday.
Well, Christmas Eve is my birthday. So, and my oldest grandson was born on the 18th. My mom and dad married on the 21st. So that's a big week in the Purvis household. So, unfortunately, though, all of our kids live out of town. And so it was a quiet Christmas for Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus here in Corpus this year. Okay. But we heard from all the kids, which was great, and spent some downtime and tried to stay out of the way of all those issues out there that people are dealing with, and so far so good.
Well, that's great. We've all experienced this extraordinarily different type of holiday season with all the craziness going out there, whether it's politics or COVID, especially COVID. So yeah, everything had to get readjusted. So I'm glad everything went well. I really am.
It's interesting. I looked up some other folks that had birthdays on Christmas Eve, and Dr. Anthony Fauci is one of those.
Really? Anthony Fauci. Okay.
Yeah. Kit Carson was one. Devontae Adams, who had a big day for Green Bay yesterday, is a Christmas Eve baby. And
wow, that's right. That is exactly right.
Let's see, Jay Billis, who's a great basketball announcer, played at Duke. I knew Jay back in the day. Anyway, so look up your birthday and see who else was born those days. You'll be surprised.
Theodore Roosevelt for mine.
There you go.
And also for you comic book geeks, Bernie Wrightson and I shared a same birthday. So yeah, there you go. There's a couple of them. That's awesome. That's awesome. You brought some good stuff here for show and tell. So before we start show and tell, grace us with one of your stories, whether it be from your childhood, whether it be related to baseball, football, or anything else. Go ahead and start us off with one of your little stories.
2011, I attended the NCAA Final Four in Houston, Texas. And I've been blessed. I had a chance to go to 8 or 9 different Final Fours. I was in Seattle one year, Minnesota, Dallas, of course, San Antonio, in Houston. But this was a pretty special day because I was traveling with Ronnie Arrow, who at that time was coaching for the Islanders here in town. And we're sitting at a table with Norm Stewart from Missouri, Eddie Sutton from Oklahoma State, Bobby Crimmins from Georgia Tech, and I'm basically in heaven. I'm in basketball heaven. And these guys have salt and pepper shakers, and they're talking about a baseline defense on an out-of-bounds ball on how they would go about doing it. And they're arguing back and forth. And I'm sitting there, and I'm kind of smiling like I'm doing now, and Ronnie looks up to me and goes, "What's so funny?" And I said, "I'm just imagining how plays just like this have been invented in some bar at 2 o'clock in the morning by you guys." And you find out along the way that these coaches actually share their good fortune. There are no secrets in sports. It's all a matter about how you go about, running your play or whatever. It's about precision. It's about execution. It's about drive. It's about heart. But the plays are basically all the same, and they share those plays. But anyway, getting to meet Eddie Sutton, of course, we lost Eddie this past year.
Right.
I got a signed basketball by Bobby Crimmins. But the interesting part was a fellow walked by that I recognized from my childhood. I grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina. My mother worked at North Carolina State for Jim Valvano, and she worked in the sports department where she ordered equipment for the university, and she also worked in the bookstore. So we knew Lou Holtz, and we knew all these coaches and stuff. Anyway, this guy walks by, and his name is Eddie Biedenbach.
Okay.
You've probably never heard of him. He was the first college basketball player to give me an autograph. He was a freshman at North Carolina State. I was probably 8 or 9 years old. I recognized him. I said, "Hey, Coach, Andy Purvis." I said, "I know you don't know me. You might remember my mom, Edith Purvis, but you were my first basketball hero." And he turned to the other coaches and he said, "See, I told you I could play." He was coaching at that time in Asheville or somewhere. I don't remember where it was, but those fond memories of 2011 NCAA basketball
That's
tournament.
awesome. That is real. That's a great story there, Andy. You brought some stuff for show and tell.
Yeah.
I see this baseball bat. I recognize some of the names.
You should.
This is awesome. I will let you I'll hold the bat there, and you can tell the viewers who signed this bat. And how did you get the signatures, by the way?
Yeah, this was a long time happening. I didn't know it was going to be that long, but as most people probably know, Joe DiMaggio was the guy who kind of started the memorabilia craze back in the early 80s. He was getting up in age. He and Marilyn had already, she had passed away. And he began to realize that he could make as much money with his autograph as he could playing baseball. And but the one thing I didn't know, Dave, is that he would not sign multiple signed items. So he is in Houston, Texas, at the not the Coliseum, but the down next to the Minute Maid Park. I can't think of the name.
Astro Arena or
something like that.
Okay.
But anyway, he's signing autographs. And I take a bat for him to sign, and I take a book that his brother had written, Dom DiMaggio.
okay.
And Dom had signed it for me years earlier, okay? And I'm standing in line, and I paid, and I'm going to guess, I think I paid like $80 for an autograph for DiMaggio. And so, as you know, when you go to autograph, the signer's here, and he always has somebody with him. And you go to that person, and you say, "Here's what I want signed. I want it signed right here, and I want him to use a blue Sharpie," whatever,
Right.
And he passes it to DiMaggio. Well, when he looks at my book, he says, "Mr. DiMaggio doesn't sign multiple items." I said, "That's his brother, Dom DiMaggio." And he goes, "Mr. DiMaggio doesn't sign multiple." And I looked at Joe and I said, "Are you kidding me?" And he didn't say a word.
Wow.
So he would not sign his brother's book, but he did sign my bat. Now, thank gosh I got him first.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have got the other two guys on here.
Exactly.
Mickey Mantle, you've probably heard of, number 7. And, of course, the great Ted Williams.
Yeah, splendid splinter.
So we got Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle, and Ted Williams on the same bat. And maybe if he can zoom in there, he can
zoom in on these treasured signatures. Now, he said 80. This is back when you got a DiMaggio signature.
I'm going to say probably late 80s.
Yeah, $80 back then was a lot.
Oh, yeah.
DiMaggio's signature carries its weight in pricey.
Mantle was around 94, 95.
Mm-hmm.
He passed away shortly after I had him sign. But Mantle was interesting because he would travel with Moose Skowron and Hank Bauer. Those were his two buddies. Of course, Whitey Ford and Billy Martin, there's all kinds of stories about them. But he realized that Moose and Hank didn't make near the money that him and Whitey and Billy had made with the Yankees during their career. So Mantle would basically go, "Sure, I'll sign. Here's what I want. And by the way, you got to pay these two guys too." So every time you saw Mantle, you would see Bauer and Moose Skowron. And so you could get all three guys autographed at the time. So, but Unfortunately, Hank and Moose didn't fit on this bat.
No, take nothing away from either one of them, but geez, this is the ultimate. What would you call them? The trifecta here, I guess,
yeah,
whatever. The Holy Trinity. For
Well-
those baseball fanatics that were back in the day, Ted Williams. How did you get Ted Williams' autograph?
Ted was actually done in Florida. You know, he retired to Florida. He fished a lot. I was there at spring training one year. I think I want to say 90 or 91, I believe. And he was signing autographs at the Ted Williams Museum. A lot of people forget that he had his own museum there right outside of St. Petersburg, Florida. And St. Petersburg was a great place to go to spring training because you had 5 or 6 teams within like 15 miles. You know, the Yankees were there, the Blue Jays were there, the Pirates, the Phillies, Tampa Bay, when they came, they were there. So anyway, Ted was signing at the Ted Williams Museum. And I have a picture of him and I sitting on a bench out in front of with the big plaques at Ted Williams Museum. And he was nice enough to sign that for me. Didn't cost me anything though. That was a cheap one.
That was the cheap one. That was the cheap one. Okay, this is awesome. I mean, I'm going to put it back in its case because it needs to be obviously preserved here. But this is amazing. DiMaggio himself. I mean, the signatures. Jesus.
Babe Ruth would be the only one, and I would consider putting on there. And of course,
yeah. I know we're talking about the old guys, and I love the old stuff here. I see this Wheaties box.
Yeah.
And I look at it, and I see Buck O'Neil and Monty Irvin. This year, finally, after decades and decades of being looked over, and however you want to call it, the Negro Leagues are going to be inducted, they're going to be included into the
there's
Hall of
statistics.
Records.
Yeah, the statistics from I want to say 1890 through 1940 or 1950, I believe, are going to be included in the Major League stats. Now, that's good news and bad news in my opinion, Dave. Good news is we're finally recognizing a wrong that was done a long time ago, that these guys were truly great baseball players. They could play with the white players. And there were a lot of traveling white clubs that played. And guess what? They got beat most of the time by the Negro League players. But so, the guy Ted Williams was the first one to talk about it at his Hall of Fame speech. After that, you saw Satchel Paige go in. You saw Josh Gibson. You saw, other than Jackie Robinson, you saw a lot of African-American players go in. But the problem is the Pittsburgh Courier was the only African-American newspaper for many, many years during Negro League baseball. So if it didn't get printed, if the box scores didn't get printed in that, it got lost. So we're missing years of statistics from a lot of these guys, but there are some that will help some of these players get into to the Hall of Fame. So I think in the next 5 or 10 years, you're going to see more guys get in.
Now, from what I understand,
guys like Double Duty Radcliffe.
From what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, their stats are going to be included. So that would mean that players that played in the Negro Leagues,
yes.
Jackie Robinson, Hank Aaron, Willie May, they're going to get their stats adjusted. So if Willie hit 655, he may have hit another 80 or so.
You're right.
Is that correct?
Yeah, Willie Mays played for the Birmingham Black Barons, and he started, I want to say, in now 47 or 48. He didn't get to the Giants until 51, but there was a year there where he played at minor league ball. But there's a couple of year stats of Willie Mays that are going to top of his current major league stats. You're exactly right.
And Hank Aaron as well.
And they're going to move up. Yeah, Hank Aaron. Who did Hank Aaron play for in the Negro Leagues?
I have no idea.
Oh, I thought you would know this.
No, I have no idea.
The Indianapolis Clowns.
The Clowns. Wow, no, I'd have never guessed that.
Aren't those great names?
Wow.
Those are great names.
Wow.
Huh?
I've heard of course, everyone's heard of the, or have you, of the White Crackers.
Yeah.
Or the Black Crackers, for that matter. So
There was also the Black Yankees, the Pittsburgh Crawfords, of course.
Pittsburgh Crawford, yeah.
The Kansas City Monarchs are one of the most famous teams.
Yeah.
But the other thing I was excited about was I got a chance to meet Buck O'Neil on several occasions, and Buck was one vote short of getting into the Hall of Fame. So I have a feeling now that he will go on one of these era groups, where there's 8 or 10 guys that'll be, they'll take a chosen number of names and people that might have been left out. So I'm sure he's going to end up, unfortunately, he's deceased now, but he'll end up in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
That is amazing.
Rightly
it's
so.
About time, long overdue. And where did you manage to get this Wheaties box?
I don't even remember, to be honest with you. It came in a case. I think I probably ordered it. Now, let me tell you a cool story about Monty Irvin. Monty Irvin was actually in a nursing home in Houston, Texas. And I found out about it, and I called, and we tried our darndest. Dennis and I tried so hard to get him on the phone to do an interview from Houston. And finally, one of the doctors called us back and just said he's not able to carry on a conversation at this time. And shortly after that, 2 or 3 months later, Monty passed away. Yeah, but he, people don't realize he was right after Jackie, with the New York Giants, and played with Willie, and they were roommates. And Willie claims that Monty was actually the guy that kind of kept him on the straight and narrow when he first started, because all these guys were experiencing racism, people spitting on them, calling them names, throwing stuff. I mean, the stories are just horrible, Dave. I don't know how we justify all that, but
you mentioned Monty Irvin, and I remember back in 1990, there was Bob Lee used to put on the Great American Baseball Show, and he had huge list of stars there. There was Mickey Mantle, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays. Then of course there were some of the Rangers that were there. They had Canseco and McGuire, and they were blazing hot during that time.
Yeah.
They had Monty Irvin, and Kirby Puckett, Roger Clemens. I mean, they had a who's who at the time of the 90s, and everyone was flocking over to their tables. And I'm walking, because I sat up there, sell my stuff. Right?
Sure.
And I'm walking, my buddy's taking over the table, and I'm kind of walking, stretching my legs, and I see this gentleman way at the end on the table by himself. I walk over and I see the nameplate. It's Monty Irvin. I'm like, where is everybody? So I walked up to him, shook his hand, got to speak with him. Great gentleman. I had some awesome stories, and but no one was there. I'm like, how can no one be here? And he was more than glad to share his experiences in the Negro Leagues and some racism, unfortunately. And I spoke with him for nearly half an hour, and I was blessed to have that time with him. I really was. I really was.
No doubt about it.
We've lost so many this year, whether it be to COVID or other diseases or whatever it was. So many sports legends and stuff. And I see we just yesterday we lost Phil Necro, and I see you have a book there on
I was I don't know if I showed this last time, but my new book is called Legends of Greatness, and it has 60 stories in it. It's at the publisher now. Of course, they're all working from home too, so I don't know when it'll be out. Maybe late January, early February. But I bought a list of the names, Dave, of the people that we have lost. And of course, you just mentioned Phil Necro. Now, I have a large collection of books in my library. This one's signed, of course, by Phil. And what I do is when these fellas pass, I go back and I can pull out 3 or 4 different books. I have a Milwaukee Braves book that has stories of Phil in it. And that's how I write my stories. And I try not to use too much on the computer. Even the computers sometimes are not, Wikipedia could be very suspect, guys, okay?
Right.
Good place to go look, but that doesn't mean it's the truth.
Exactly.
So if I can't find it in a couple, 2 or 3 places, I try not to use that information. But as you mentioned, I'm working on Phil's story now. But just listen to some of these. Of course, we started off with the big name is Kobe Bryant at the first of the year, along with guys like Pat Sullivan, David Stern, Don Larson, who pitched the perfect game. Sam Weiss, just amazing. Curly Neal, Al Kaline, Doug Sanders, the great golfer. We lost 4 of Lombardi's players this year. Willie Davis was one of them. Mike Curtis, Don Shula, great coach. But then you look at the names we lost in the last 90 days.
That was heavy.
Paul Hornung, Tommy Heinsohn, Herb Adderley, Joe Morgan, Whitey Ford, Bob Gibson, Gail Sayers, Larry Wilson, Lou Brock, Tom Seaver, John Thompson, Lute Olson. It's incredible.
It is.
So I was trying, as I was putting my book together, I told my wife, I said, I feel like in the preface, I didn't really, now that 2020 is almost over, I need to kind of go back and relook at that. Because obviously COVID was part of that. 4 or 5 of these guys actually died with the COVID disease. But I figured out that I turned 69 on Christmas Eve. As a child, most of us form our favorite players or teams between the ages of like 10 and 15. Usually it's your dad's favorite team or something. And so if you add 15 to 69, you get 84. And you go back and you look at these guys, all these guys passed away between like 78 and 84, 85. With, of course, Kevin Green was one that died early.
Took everyone by surprise.
But so part of this issue is just timing, but there were 16 coaches from college basketball or college football that passed away this year. And of course, I stopped writing after Paul Hornung because I got to my 60 stories and I wanted to keep the book at around 400 pages. The other stories will go in the next one. But then we turned around and lost Ray Perkins. And who was the other coach? We lost another coach. I know we lost Dick Allen.
Yes.
Necro.
Kevin Green.
There was one more coach.
I can't remember the coach, but I know for you.
Oh, Casey Jones.
That's right, Casey Jones.
Casey Jones with the Celtics, a great player, and also
and for you hardcore Dallas Cowboy fans like moi, regardless of what I'm wearing, we'll get to that later. Ron Whitby, the punter for the Cowboys. He was. A lot of people don't realize this. Ron Whitby, he was a 4-sport star in college. It's like, are you kidding me? This guy played, and he played all 4 years. He lettered in all 4 years in college. And this guy, really, the punter? Yeah, the punters are talented too.
I am so glad you mentioned that because a lot of our parents today feel like they take their kid, if let's say he's pretty good at baseball or whatever, and that's all they do is that one sport. And I think that's a mistake. I think the kids should be allowed to play all the sports because each sport has its own separate things that they will learn from it, especially from a body control standpoint. And if you go back and you look at all these guys I just mentioned, guess what? They were all 3-4 sports stars in high school. They played everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. To spend all your time throwing a baseball, by the time you get to be 15 or 16, you probably need Tommy John surgery.
Yeah. And a host of other surgeries as well. But tell us more about your books. I'm sure I see Shadows of Greatness and I see Greatness of Illinois.
These are the last 2. This one I just showed you, Legends of Greatness, is my 8th book, actually, Dave. But these are the last 2. You can find any of my books online. There's an easy way to do it. You can go to purvisbooks.com. There's a menu on the left-hand side, and there's a one that says Buy Books. Mash that, and it will give you the direct link to my page on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Google Books, eBooks, you name it, whatever company is selling books. And you can mash that, and it'll take you straight to my page. It literally takes 10 seconds.
There you go, guys. You heard that. Just check out. I mean, he's an amazing writer, an amazing storyteller. I tell whether you like certain sports or not, you have to pick up one of Andy's books. It doesn't matter which one you pick up. Pick up one, and I guarantee you're going to want to pick up all the rest that he's put out.
If you want to pick it up and hold it, like you said, go down to Barnes & Noble.
Yeah.
They have all the books right here in town, Barnes & Noble. And let me, it's funny. I'll say this a little bit in jest. I mean, I want to sell books. I want to share my stories. But at the same time, the best compliment you can give me is when you write and tell me if I touched you in some way, especially if you're a family member. Listen to this. Andy, I found your book, Secrets of Greatness, to be very interesting and filled with lots of things I didn't know about. I especially enjoyed your story of Chuck Noll. Thanks for sending me a copy and being a good friend to my pal Bobby Smith. Bobby Smith played at North Texas with Mean Joe Green.
Right.
It's signed Mean Joe Green, Pittsburgh Steelers.
Awesome.
How about that?
Awesome.
Right there on the back. I heard, listen to this one. This is from Bobby Buckner. This is Bill Buckner's son. Andy has a passion for keeping the stories of all-time great players and people alive. Thank you for telling my all-time favorite player's story, my dad. In a time when the sports media doesn't recognize professional athletes as people, Andy does a great job of bringing to light the real person behind the athlete. Here's another one. The Frank Robinson story was a nice article. What I can't get on the street corner, the story within the story, is a different depth. I sense in reading Andy's articles that there seems to be a trust of accuracy. Buck Showalter.
Buck Showalter, how about that?
Dave, I'm telling you, I'm living a dream.
I know you are.
I'm living a dream. When you can touch people like that, and my whole goal is to keep these people's memories alive.
Of course, yeah.
You know, nobody dies if you keep talking about them.
That's true.
You know what?
That's exactly right.
Right now, there's someone in your life that passed away, yet when you're in a crowd of people, you might hear somebody laugh that sounds like them, see somebody walk that walk like them, or hear somebody say something that your dad or your uncle might have said. They're always with you. They're always inside you. Yes. And so this is my way of honoring them and the great moments that they allowed me to share as a sports fan, watching them play on TV or in person.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. And so much more to get to. One more final thing.
Sure.
Okay, let's get to the...
Yeah.
I'm a huge Cowboy fan, but I'm an even bigger Lance Allworth fan. My all-time favorite receiver, hands down. Nicknamed Bambi.
Yeah.
He's so graceful in catching the passes, and just so you'll see it, it does say Allworth in the back, okay? It does say Allworth, you know. So I love the old school stuff. I mean, I was raised in football, just like Andy was raised in mostly in baseball, and I love my football stuff. I love my football history, and anyone that knows me knows my likes and who I prefer and stuff like that. And I see this, and I'm like, wow. Andy brought with us a real, genuine, game-used Houston Oiler, love ya blue, helmet worn by defensive end in the early 90s, Ezra Johnson. Tell us about this helmet. Tell us how you acquired it. And I see some signatures here.
Yeah.
Tell us about this helmet. Game used.
I moved to Texas in 1985. I hired an advertising company for my Pizza Hut business in Houston, Texas. The guy who owned the advertising company was also the voice of the Houston Cougars basketball team, back when they had Drexler and all those guys.
Okay.
And he also had connections with the Oilers, Bum Phillips and those people. So he helped me get season tickets. I sat on, I want to say, around the 22-yard line on the second row. And he gave me access to players. And, you know, what's funny is the games that I attended that were televised were terrible because at that time they had these little vehicles where they'd have cameras on them that would go up and down the sidelines to follow the action. And they always end up in my way. You couldn't see around them. Yeah. It was better when it wasn't televised.
Yeah.
But I don't remember exactly. I mean, I just remember being handed the helmet here, here's Ezra Johnson's helmet. And of course, I took the time along the way to get it signed by some of the guys.
We have
Ray Childress. Now,
this is Warren Moon, okay?
Yeah.
Number one. I mean,
first off,
Pastorini.
Look, feel how big it is.
Oh, it's heavy.
It's huge.
How do these guys wear this? I mean, geez, I Okay, the bobbing head thing, that's what I would do. I mean, this is...
Show them what
This
it looks
is
like on the
freaking heavy.
inside if you can. It's good.
Okay, see that?
Yeah.
Now, I find it fascinating. This guy got some hits in. I mean, you can see that the logo here is pretty much bashed up, And on this side, you'll see Ray Childress and the signature.
Cody Carlson.
Cody Carl's is in the
Yeah.
back. Number
It's
7, I would believe that would be Dan Pastorini. I'm not sure about the signature, but the number 7 is there. There's the Warren Moon is number 1, right?
It started out just to be a
Cody
quarterback
Carlson.
helmet, but then it's really a defensive lineman's helmet. It's not
Yeah,
a quarterback's
how
helmet.
ironic is that?
And in 1996, Texas A&M dedicated their baseball field to Nolan Ryan, and Nolan came down with several people and played against a media team. And of course, at that time, Shane Nelson and I were partners on the radio, 1440 Keys, and they invited us to play. So I played at right field against Nolan's team, and one of the players on Nolan's team was Ray Childress. So I took the helmet with me and had Ray sign the helmet for me. But he also had Red Murph, who had scouted him. And Red Murph, when Nolan was in Alvin, Texas, as a young pitcher. And the guy who played, Larry Hagman, who played Dallas.
Who shot JR.
Yeah, he was there. And anyway, the best story is in one of my books, I think it was my 3rd book called Greatness Continued. It says in the front of the book, it says, and I don't remember exactly how it goes, but something like, I never stopped Earl Campbell at the goal line on 3rd and 1. I never blocked a George Gerving jump shot. I never ducked a George Foreman left hook, but I did get a hit off of Nolan Ryan. I got the first hit off of Nolan. It was in left field, and I've never let him forget that. Now we were playing softball. So he's throwing a softball. Well, softball, baseball fields, it's 90 feet between the bases. In softball, it's less. So I get to first base, and the umpire looks at me and goes, "Son, are you okay?" I said, "I just got a hit off of Nolan Ryan."
That's awesome.
Oh, my goodness. So anyway, that's how the helmet came about. And, of course, there was at one time I had a helmet of the Green Bay Packers that was signed on one side by Paul Hornung and the other one Jim Taylor. And all these pictures of all these signings and stuff we talked about are in my book, This Close to Greatness. In fact, in this last book, there are pictures of Don Shula that I took, Joe Morgan, Whitey Ford, Lou Brock, Tom Seaver. They're all in there signing autographs for me.
That's awesome. That's just awesome. I love this helmet. Love your blue. I mean, geez, the history, I started watching Oilers because I didn't even know there was another team other than the Cowboys. I swear to you. Houston, what? Oilers? Was Charlie Johnson, I believe, was their quarterback when I started watching back in it. That's how long ago, And then Pastorini, beautiful guy. I don't know of anyone that could throw a beautiful bomb like Dan Pastorini could. Of course, he was always under duress, much like Archie Manning was back in the day. No offensive line, so.
I got 2 stories for you. Sam Weiss left us in this past year. Sam's in my new book. Sam was known to get into the other coaches' faces.
Okay.
And I can't remember the name. Right before Bum Phillips, what was the name of the Oilers coach, the little short one that said NFL stood for not for long?
Yeah, Jerry Glanville.
Jerry Glanville, yeah. Okay. Weiss came to Houston with the Bengals, and he and Glanville had some back and forth. So Weiss beat them, I want to say 61-7. They scored at the end of the game, and then they did an onside kick to get the ball back, and then kicked the field goal, all in the last minute, just to run the score up. And Weiss thought it was hilarious. Well, the joke ended up on Weiss because the Oilers made the playoffs, the Bengals didn't, and guess what Glanville did? He sent Weiss and the entire Bengal team tickets to the playoff game.
That's Glanville for you. That's Dan. Wasn't he the one that would buy a seat for Elvis Presley, so you can watch. That guy's something else. Something else. Well, Andy, it's been great. We have so many more stories that we'd love to hear you, and hopefully at some time in the next year. I can't believe we're finally at the end of 2020, and I hope that the good Lord blesses us with a much better 21.
Oh, it's got to
and
be.
everyone. I hope
You know,
so, for everyone.
Something good is going to come from this, Dave. I don't know exactly what it is. God has a plan. I believe that. So
Yes, sir.
just wear your mask, stay inside, let it pass.
God bless you in this new
You
year,
bet.
my friend.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure having you. Folks, I promise we'll have another segment with Andy, even more cool stuff like this to show you, and even bigger stories, and hopefully his new book by that time, too. God bless. We will see you soon. Hey, folks, we're going to do me and Jack, we're going to do a little rapid Q&A, what I like to call the Dirty Dozen questions. So we're going to get to know more of you and a little of me. This is in random order, okay? First question, your favorite food?
Anything that doesn't eat me first.
Oh, hey, okay. All right.
Actually, arroz con pollo.
Órale, arroz con pollo, hey,
Yeah,
that's
but-
all right, dude. That's all right. Tortillas or bread?
Tortillas.
Okay, all right. Who cooks it? Your mom, the restaurant, your wife, or you?
The wife.
The wife?
Yeah.
Okay. Good answer, because you know, mom, with all due respect, mom's long gone. You still have to go home with wife.
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah,
Good
exactly.
answer, good answer. Your favorite cartoon character?
Wile E. Coyote.
Why is that?
Because I really want to see him eat. I like the underdog. I'd really like to see him eat the Roadrunner.
Okay, okay.
You know, he also sued Acme in the state of Arizona. There's actually he
There's
sued.
an Acme, a real life Acme.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Best current comic book title?
Ooh. Daredevil.
Why?
I think the story's really gritty and it's got meat to it. It's
All right.
a good story.
Awesome. Wrestling or boxing?
Wrestling.
Wrestling. Who's your favorite wrestler?
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
All right. That's the bottom line because he just said so. Well, back to comic books. Who's your favorite hero?
Captain America. He's my guy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Just because he wears the flag?
No, after as I got older, I realized that my grandparents, okay, both my grandfathers were in World War I.
Wow.
Okay. My dad lied about his age and was in World War II. Okay. Well, I was had in 65. All right. There must have been nothing on the TV.
Yeah.
And what I realized is that my oldest brother, who was 20 when I was had, I should have actually, I'm not trying to be weird, but if you think about who I should have been born to,
I got you.
right? Okay. And so it's just like Cap, a lot of my morals and values are out of time because they come from my parents that were depression kids.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Favorite villain? It can be Marvel or DC. Favorite villain?
Red Skull.
Ah, the tie-in with the cat.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Your favorite color?
Green.
Green. Color of money?
No. Color of my. I was born on St. Patrick's Day.
Ah, luck of the Irish.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Lucky Charms?
May the devil.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Favorite saying? Can be in English or Spanish or Tex-Mex, either one.
That's a good one. What's my favorite saying? What do I say a lot of? Say a lot of curse words.
Okay. All right. I don't know if that's a saying.
That's why I'm leaving it at that.
Okay. Tell us something about you that no one knows.
That no one knows.
Yeah, whether it's a habit or whether it's just whatever. No one knows that I'm.
Like to wear women's clothes. No.
We knew
just-
that, but that's no secret. That's
Dang
no
it.
secret. That's been out a long time ago.
I thought that I had taken that all off Facebook. Dang it.
Don, hide your stuff. Hide your stuff.
That I have tattoos, and I probably around spring break I'm going to get the urge to get another one.
Tattoos. I don't remember. Wow, how about that?
Yeah.
Well, good deal. Good deal. That's all right. All right.
Is that 12?
No, sir. We have dos más. We have dos más. Best advice your mom or dad ever gave you?
My dad. They can either stay pissed or get over it.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Last but not least, tell us your most embarrassing moment that you've ever had.
There was this one time where this friend of mine, because you asked me about this, okay, at the beginning, you warned me this was coming, so I've been thinking about it. He asked me to be on like this podcast show with him, and we were going to talk about comics and things like that. And then he wouldn't shut up. I just sat there and did nothing while he talked and talked and talked. That was my most embarrassing moment.
Okay. All right. And that's it.
That's it?
Oh, wow.
Thank you. You've been a wonderful audience.
Yeah.
No. Okay. So just before my turn.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And just before this all, as Andy was wrapping up, Dawn texted me and said, "Be nice."
Okay.
Okay. So that, never mind that bunch. And hold on, I got to get to the nice ones.
Oh boy. What?
Still going.
Yeah.
Still going.
Oh,
And still going. Okay.
all right.
The nice ones.
We have one question.
What's your name?
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I got.
Okay.
No. Do you have a favorite female superhero?
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman? Why?
Linda Carter. I saw Linda Carter. I'm like, whoa, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yes. Yes.
The world wants to know, why do you dislike Superman?
That guy has the lamest secret identity ever. Really? A hat and glasses? You gotta be kidding me. It's like, I'm now Arnold Schwarzenegger. Take it off. I'm David De La Cruz. Really? Really? Come on. Yeah, the guy's lame. He can't be beat. The fastest, the strongest. If he's the fastest, the strongest, Flash beat him. I'm sorry. You know, Superman's smarter. Not
Didn't Muhammad Ali beat him
Batman. Batman. Did he?
too? Did he?
Probably. He beat everybody.
I was going to say, wasn't that big?
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
yeah.
He got depowered.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Muhammad Ali whipped his. Let's see. I'm trying to find the nice ones.
Let me have
What
it.
comic took off that surprised you?
Independent has to be the Independent. I'm not going to say the title because moms and dads might be watching. You guys that are really smart can figure that one out. You can kind of read between the lines. But Department of Truth, kind of conspiracy type of comic book, that came out of nowhere. And I like conspiracy stuff. And gosh, this thing is it's just ablaze. It's super hot.
What comic surprised you that it didn't take off?
You know, I thought that with the movie and all of this, that Black Panther, at least in this region, at this shop, would have really took off. And we had a few more customers that picked it up, but I really thought that the Black Panther was going to be a really good hit, you know, and you know, it just kind of missed the mark for me on that one. You know?
Interesting. What do you miss about comics?
The good old days. When they said, be back in 30, they meant 30 days. Of course, back then, Marvel had maybe 15, 18 titles. I picked up every single one of them, sometimes twice. And I loved it. The storytelling, it was captivating. You couldn't wait for the next 30 days because they left you on cliffhangers, and you wanted to. I had to go to all the mom and pop shops back in my age. Okay, there was like about 6 mom and pop shops within 5-block radius, and I would hit every single one just to find out where is the next Fantastic Four part 2 or part 2 of the Amazing Spider-Man. So yeah, that's it for me. That's it for me right there. Nowadays it's like 1,500 titles, and nobody knows other than Donny Cates maybe and a few others. Nobody knows the other writers. Nobody even cares.
Yeah.
The stories go, but Donny Cates, hook, line and sinker. But
Yeah.
we're with you.
Is there anything you like about new comics?
Wow. That's a hard one for me to answer. I'm an old guy, so
No.
I like the older stuff. I think we have too many titles. The prices are just too high. And I hope that you guys, and believe me, I love each and every one of you guys, but I hope you guys are getting what you pay for, because to me, the stories aren't as captivating as they once were, as I just stated back in the 60s. So, yeah, kind of, sort of, I'm being honest.
No, I appreciate it. Have you ever worried, or do you ever worry about your loved ones not understanding your, I'm not going to say obsession, but
Passion
your
for
passion.
comics.
Thank you. Your passion for comics.
No, my wife, first date, took her home, see mom, right? She turned around and she says, "What are all those long white boxes? We have quite a few." And I said, "Those are comic books." She turned around and she said, "What? Comic books? Like little kid comic books?" I said, "Little kid, big kid, all kind of." And that's the only time she ever questioned it. Bless her heart, she has never said, you need to stop, you need to grow up. Yeah, we need more money for this. No. I knew how to handle my finances, that I knew when to stop, when to go. I've always known that about myself, self-control. So no, she never ragged on me about, grow up. Why do you have this many? Now you're getting toys, statues. That is not going in the living room. I don't care what it is. That is not. No.
No
So,
Vampirella statue in the living room.
And my grandson, he grew up at the shop and he loved it. It's a good connection, family. I see moms and dads with kids come in. That's what it's all about. Family. The comic book industry brings them together somehow, some way, shape or form. We all come together. So yeah.
I know that the guy that's peeking up behind us there, Spidey, is your guy.
Yeah, my favorite.
Do you have a favorite run?
Of Spider-Man, issues 31, 32, and 33. The final chapter. It's awesome. Ditko was at his best artistically. Stan wrote his very first trilogy ever in comic books. And it showed those who didn't know who Spider-Man was, who Peter Parker was, it showed you who Peter Parker was, the lumps he took literally. The dialogue was amazing as an amazing Spider-Man. The hero, and it for those guys that weren't sure about who Spider-Man was, you have to read those. You can still read them in trades and stuff like that. But to me, that is the ultimate Spider-Man storyline. That Aunt May's in a hospital dying. He needs to get the serum. Doc Ock and his Goonies, they trap Spider-Man, and he's trapped under machinery, and the dam is breaking, and the room is filling up with water, and it's about 10 tons worth of machinery, and all he's thinking about is how to save his aunt, and he's beat up, his bones are broken, everything except his will, and the will to get out of it to save his aunt, and he pushes up that machinery, and he starts thinking about Uncle
classic.
Ben. Uncle Ben, he blames himself for Uncle Ben's death, and it's just, you guys have got to pick it up. But yeah.
I was going to say that classic shot
Yeah.
The water coming
Issue
down.
33, he's
Yeah.
trapped and he's like that and the water's dripping. Yeah, it doesn't get any better. For me, it doesn't get any better than that.
Do I have time for one more? Excellent. I liked your question, so I'm going to ask you, what would we know about you? What is something about you that you don't think many of us know?
Geez, I put out my stuff. It's in my sleeve, right? So I wear my heart on my sleeve, so to speak. So what you see is kind of what you get. I don't have any tattoos. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I cuss a little bit.
That's a lie.
Yeah,
He
okay.
cusses a lot.
I will tell you one of my most embarrassing moments. So rewind the clock. My graduation day, Ray High School. My sweetheart, high school sweetheart, my wife, still married to her. I'm supposed to go pick her up. And I have this 1969 Impala that, that thing was horrible. It had so many dents. Like those of you guys that watched Beverly Hills Cop, the first one, and Eddie Murphy's driving around this old beat up 72, 70 Nova, and that thing is just that looks like a Rolls Royce compared to what I was driving. But I thought it was, hey, man, I thought it was it, So we all do. Age 16 and a half, 17, first car. So I'm supposed to pick her up. My mom's taken off. All the family's taken off. And back then, Memorial Coliseum, they had that adjoining little, what was it called? Exposition hall?
Yeah.
Something like that, right? So we were supposed to get there and then walk out, to our seating, right? And I'm waiting for my wife to call me. Well, my girlfriend back then, Diana, called me, and she didn't call. And I'm like, we have to be there at 6 o'clock. It's already 15 till. The phone finally rings, and it's Diane. She says, my parents want to take me instead. I'm like, really? So now I'm in a hurry, and I have my pants on, right? I have my shirt, and back then, 70s, you got polyester pants, you got your silk shirt, you got your platform shoes,
Styling and profiling.
Oh, man, yeah. Woo! All that type of stuff, right? So I grab my stuff, and I get on there. Now it's 10 minutes till, and I have to go all the way down Ocean Drive. And I live fairly close to the freeway, but I'm about 10 or 12 minutes away. So I'm taking off on the side of the freeway, and I try to time the light at the intersection, and it is red. And I'm trying to time it so that I won't have to stop. Well, my seatbelt, the buckle, the mechanism inside broke, so I never used the seatbelt. Back then, they didn't care if you used the seatbelt or not, right? Light turns green, I punch it, and I'm making a left. No seatbelt. Follow me. Vinyl seat with my polyester pants, gunning the car to make that light, making a hard left turn. I slid all the way on the bench seat. I grab the steering wheel, and I'm doing this number, and I'm doing a donut. I'm coming around, and I reach with my foot somehow, some way, and I hit the brake, and my head hits the dash, and it's mostly metal. I'm like, oh my God. So I'm laying down, and I get up, and as I get up, I'm facing traffic, and everybody's like, what the heck just happened? What's wrong with this dude? So now I have to reverse, go back in the circle, and I'm thinking, this guy's going to call the cops on me. Now I'm really late. I got to be at my graduation. So I'm zigzagging the back streets so nobody will follow me. And I'm sliding. So what do? Hey, idea. I want to drop my pants. Why? Because I'm wearing Fruit of the Loom, cotton underwear. They're not going to slide. So I'm driving, I get down Ocean Drive. There's a light. People are crossing. They're crossing to get in time for the graduation. And I'm trying to find the farthest parking space available so that I can get readjusted, put my pants back on. So I'm waiting at the light, and I'm sitting down like this. And I can feel somebody staring at me right there on my left-hand side. And then I kind of look up, and there's a man. He's staring at me like this with his arms crossed, looking at me in my underwear. And I'm like, oh God, this isn't happening. Light turns green, I take off. I make it there, put my pants on. Fast forward, everyone's taking pictures, and we're saying our goodbyes, not telling what's going to happen right after we graduate. I'm taking pictures with some of my girlfriends, right? And once, come here, David, take a picture. So I'm with the family, so I'm there, and I feel his hand, and I'm like,
Oh, no.
and he's gripping it kind of hard, with some pressure added to it. I'm like, okay, I don't know who this fella is, but this guy's getting on my nerve. So then pictures are taken. So finally I turn around. It's the same gentleman that was staring me down with my underwear, right? It happened to be my girlfriend's father. And he looked at me and he says, "Did you take care of that problem earlier, son?" And I'm like, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." And my friend, her name is Irma, she turned around and she says, "What's she talking about? I gotta go. Love you guys. Bye." So yeah, that was my most embarrassing moment. Beat that.
No.
Okay. Hey, it's been fun. Hope you learned something about both of us. Maybe you didn't want to. But anyway, we hope to do this more in the future. In closing, I hope you guys had a happy, merry, blessed Christmas and a happy New Year that's coming up soon. This year's been trying for everyone. We've lost friends. We lost family members. We've lost so many loved ones out there. You guys have. And my prayers are with each and every one of you that are suffering, that have lost a friend, that have lost a loved one. And I surely hope that this coming year, 2021, just blesses us with great health. And I love you guys, really, from the bottom of my heart. I'm always praying for you guys, and I hope to see you in the shop soon. Love you.